one. Catching up with head coach Derek King on IceHogs Media Day. Coach King, a pretty successful 3-game set against the Grand Rapids Griffins. Now you turn your attention to another mini series, 2 games against the Iowa Wild. But looking back at your little Central Division showdown with Grand Rapids, I know a lot of pride in that locker room for the IceHogs to go against them. And it was a thriller just the other evening in a 3-2 shootout victory to win that little 3-game mini series, 2-1.
Yeah, it was obviously, it's always nice to win. I just think the biggest thing with that kind of our little mini series is that we competed for 3 games. We turned it into a mini series ourselves by competing. And I really liked our game, all 3 of them. And we did a lot of little things well. And we gave ourselves an opportunity to win some hockey games there. And we did a good job.
Competing has been probably your biggest key for a lot of these young guys in that locker room, especially now in the backstretch of the season. But it seems like right now, this is the team that you were hoping to get for off the get-go. But there's a lot of young guys. They're all kind of gelling together. It's unfortunate that you only have 5 games left in the season. You wish you could almost play more with how well they're playing. But what are you seeing from this group that you're noticing they are competing as a unit, not just individually, but all together here in these last few games?
Well, I think the biggest thing that, obviously our first 10 games weren't perfect. Obviously we did a few things, but we had I would say we had too many mistakes where they really snowballed on us. You make a mistake down ice and it turned into 3 or 4 mistakes. So now we make a mistake, that's it. The mistakes that is down wherever it happens, and we end it from there. We've learned from our mistakes, and obviously we're doing a much better job of managing our games.
It seems like you get new star players every night jumping in there. Last game, it was Evan Barrett with 2 points, Chad Yetman with 2 points, and Andre Altabarmakian with 2 points. What have you liked from them? Because these are some of the young guys that you've been looking to have continue grow from their first pro game all the way now up to game 30+ moving into the final stretch here.
Well, I just think they're buying into doing all the little details of the game. They're learning to play without the puck. And for Yetman, to go down to the minors, come back, go back down to Indy, come back, come up, get a chance to play and put in a good performance like that. We rewarded him for doing all the work he's been doing in practice and even going playing well down in Indy. So he comes back in the lineup, has a good showing. So, he did all the little things we asked him to do. He's learning. And then like Alti and the other guys, they're all learning all the little details that you need to be a good pro. And I like where they're at, and I like where our team's at.
And now looking forward, you got the Iowa Wild for a couple of games, Chicago on a Monday afternoon contest. So 3 games over Mother's Day weekend, 3 games in 4 nights, not just the mini playoff series, but just a busy weekend, kind of shades of a regular season. How do you approach this as a coaching staff, knowing that you want to make the most of these 3 games, but knowing that these are 3 of the remaining 5 left to try and maximize?
Yeah, well, the maximize part is just getting guys in the lineup. So every game is going to be a different lineup completely. 3 or 4 or 5 guys in, 4 or 5 guys out. Who knows if we get anybody down from the taxi squad again, or maybe we lose a couple guys to give them some games up top. I don't know. But the big thing here is just whoever's in the lineup, they got to realize it's time to compete. It's almost like you're, promoting yourself and you're getting ready for next year. And, like I said to the guys today after practices, no passengers, work hard till the last game and then enjoy your summer. But summer doesn't start until that last game's over.
As a coaching staff, how challenging is that to pick and choose who jumps in, who jumps out? How do you rotate a healthy cycle of who gets what contest? Because you got a lot of players to mix in, and maybe not everybody might get the games that they were hoping for. So what's your approach now going into these final handful?
It's just be honest with them, be upfront, let them know what's going on, what we're thinking. Again, after practice, just told them there's going to be 3 or 4 new guys in the lineup, and 3 or 4 guys need to sit out. It's not based on whether you played well or you weren't playing well. It's just these are the numbers we have, and we got to give everybody an equal opportunity.
Turning over, Ben Pope, your line is active, sir.
Hi, Coach. I was just going to ask about Evan Barrett. What have you seen from him this year?
He's grown. Like he's, it's like the rest of the group. He works hard. He's a smart hockey player. I think he can play some NHL eventually. Is he ready now? No. I think the big thing with him is his first 2 strides, and he won't argue with that. But he's been great. He grinds it out. He's got some jam to his game. I really like where he is right now. And I've had him at center. I've had him at wing. He's killed penalties earlier on in the year. Now he's a power play guy. So he's getting a full boat of everything. And, it's nice to see a prospect like that just get better every day.
What have you worked with him on to get his first 2 strides better?
Well, it's just our skating coach, Kevin Delaney's just been working with these guys pretty much 3-4 times a week. So every time we do skills, there's skating involved. So it's just something he's got to keep working on. And that's something, too, he'll get better at when he gets a little stronger also. So, but, I like where his game's at.
Thanks.
Jay Taft, your line is active, sir.
Coach, some of the news of the week, a little bit out of the AHL with the playoffs for one of the divisions and not the rest. Did you think you guys had a chance to have a playoff system at all? And were you frustrated that I think it was the Pacific got one and you guys are pretty much done here in a week?
Yeah. No, not frustrated at all. We knew going into it that we probably weren't going to play some playoff hockey. I think the big thing is with the players is the expense that they have, obviously to living expenses and what have you. And then you break it down to how much percentage of pay they're getting. It just didn't make sense to go into the playoffs where these guys are going to have to pay more money to stay to play, playoff hockey, which is kind of, you're not playing for anything. So, we chosen not to go that route. So that's why, we've talked about it before where we're making these little mini series out of games we're playing here to kind of get that playoff atmosphere. So I think we've done a good job like that. Whatever, and everybody's different, right? All the other teams have to vote or, they can do whatever they want. It just, we decided as a group and a division that we weren't going to further any, playoff games.
There's been so many changes and adjustments due to COVID all across the board in the AHL, but it seems like the IceHogs have steered pretty clear of it, at least within the locker room and within your organization. A quick comment from you as to why and what that says about the organization or anything?
Well, we've been given the tools to test every day. The funds, obviously our training staff, our DJ Jones, John Walters have done a fabulous job with testing us every day and making sure everybody's on, following the protocol of wearing your mask if you're out and if you have to go for groceries. And I think washing your hands and keeping the place sterile in here. But I think the big thing too is hats off to the guys for following our protocol. It's easy to stray. Young guys, you get sick of sitting in your room twiddling your thumbs, or you can only play so many video games or watch so many Netflix, right? Until the new movies come out. But they've done a great job, and but hats off to our training staff. They've been awesome with all this.
Thanks, Coach.
Scott Leber, your line is active.
Hi, Coach. The last 2 times you guys played Iowa, there were a lot of penalties. They were pretty physical games. Do you expect that to kind of carry over this Friday?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way they play. I mean, they're going to come hard at us. They're a good transition team. They're fast, but they play a physical game. So we got to be ready for it. I like it. It's a good test for our guys to, stand up for each other and be team tough. But I expect it, different than all the games. It's going to be up and down the ice, physical game. And, we're just going to have to grind it out.
Would you describe this team, our team, as being a physical team? And that's a fine line. You don't want undisciplined penalties and things like that. How do you kind of approach that with the guys as to how to walk that line of being physical when they need to be, but not being undisciplined?
Well, it's play whistle to whistle. Obviously, there's times in a game where you get a little out of control or somebody does a cheap shot on you, so you defend each other, right? And that's okay to do, but we just try to play whistle to whistle, stay away from all the scrums and after whistle stuff. Just, play hard, go to the net, whistle goes, come to the bench, get a fresh line out there and go right back at it. So, we're prepared for what they're going to bring. And like I said, they're a good, fast team and they play hard. We're just going to have to answer the bell.
Is hockey primarily at the NHL level? Is it a less physical game now than back when you were playing? Or how would you compare?
I think it's a little different physicality. I mean, I think you get away with a lot more back then, but it wasn't nobody was getting run over or hit from behind, but it was clean, hits. But I think the big thing too was just the clutching and grabbing, the cross checking, the holding. I think that was just a little bit different. From now, they call all that stuff. So, players are bigger, faster, stronger. So I think you're going to run into that. The hitting seems to be a little harder also, but I think the game is involved where it's a lot more skill than it was back when I played.
Last thing from me, Matt Tompkins obviously has bounced back and forth with the taxi squad and here.
Yeah.
In general, how much do you think he's gotten out of this season? Has he taken another step, or is it just too hard to tell?
It's hard to tell at times. You think you have you figured out who's improved over the COVID season. I think he's done well. I mean, like anything, the start of the season was a bit slow for everybody. We weren't playing as a team. Goalies haven't played a hockey game in months and months. Players haven't played in months. So after we settled in and started playing better in front of our goalies, I think our goalies took off and they've been playing well. I think, and even going to the taxi squad was a good, almost like a little bit of a reward for Tomer for putting all the work in to get where he's at. And it gives him a little taste of, how things are up at the next level.
Joe O'Donnell, your line is active.
Hey, Coach. Appreciate the time as always. Want to go back to the sort of the scenario with obviously no Calder Cup playoffs for the Central Division, and not so much why you guys made the decision, but more or less how you're trying to get the players to continue to buy in. I know from our side of things, guys knew before the official announcement, the staff knew, but now that it is official, how do you kind of keep that carrot dangling for these guys?
Well, I mean, it's easy to get up for games against Iowa and Chicago and Grand Rapids. We play them so many times over the other seasons. So, and then, like I said, it's make a little mini series out of these games, make them worth something as in, pride wise, but know that you're going into Iowa and it's going to be a battle. So we have to be prepared. It's a playoff hockey atmosphere with them. That's the way they play. I like the way they play. They play a hard-nosed game, but they also throw some skill at you and they can transition well. So that's playoff hockey right there. So we have to be able to get up for this. And, and I think this is the mentality we've had going into probably the last half of this season after our slow start. And I think we've reacted pretty well to it. So I'm looking forward to getting a couple more games against Iowa because they push us to play better.
What have you seen from Djbuzzard as this year's moved along?
Well, he's just, he's kind of like the Forrest Gump of our team. Like he does everything. He can play defense. We haven't had to use him, touch wood, at defense, but he can play defense. I've had him at center. I've had him at both wings. He kills penalties. He's a power play guy. He just overall good, solid hockey player for us. He's improved from day one till now. And I'm looking forward to having him back next year.
How about Ivan Naumov?
Yeah, great character kid. Big goalie. Coming in here, not knowing much about him, but he has a great way about himself. He's always got a smile on his face. He butchers the English language a little bit, but that's all right. We'll work on that. But he has fun, and I like the way he plays in that.
Do guys like playing for him because of that personality? Do you see that from time to time?
I think our guys, like I said, the first 10 games we weren't a team. We didn't know anybody. We didn't know each other. Whether there was a trust in me and the rest of the staff, or we didn't have trust in our players. it goes both ways, but I think everybody trusts each other. And then you add on top of that a character like him. Guys kind of like that. They like to see him win, and they like to play well in front of him. So it helps. And hopefully the next couple games he gets, our guys show up to play.
Lastly, for me, when you look at the Wild and you've talked about they push you to be better, what have you found has made your team successful in the season series? What will you look for when you get this 2-game set against Iowa this weekend?
Well, I just think play it to their pace. We can't sit back and wait for things to happen. We got to make things happen, because if you do, that team's going to eat you up. And we've done that before for times in the game where we've sat back, and it doesn't help. So we got to be ready from when the puck drops, and know that we're in a fight this next couple games against them.
Thank you.
And lastly, Brandon Kane, your line is active, sir.
Hey, Derek, have you been surprised at all by the level of play that Brandon Hagel and Philip Kurashev have had in the NHL this year?
Yeah, in a way, a little bit. I'm surprised that they're playing this much, but they've earned it. Obviously, Hagel's has taken a next step here from where he was last year, and he's been doing real well. I think Kurashev still needs to find a little bit of that consistency, but I knew from day one the kid's a hockey player. It's whether taking it to the next level is the big test, right? And he's done that. He's proven he can play up there. Now it's proven that he can stay up there is the big thing for both of them.
All right, and I think it was last week. It was the 2-year anniversary of you signing your contract and having that interim label removed for you. So in these past 2 years, what have you learned and grown into your role as head coach there?
Well, I think the big thing is I've learned you got to be a little more patient with these kids. But just every day running the getting prepared, the preparation for games and practices is just that's the biggest thing. As an assistant, you come in. Sometimes you don't have to do much unless you're talking individually to your forwards or if you're running the D. But the head guy's got to, you got a lot of different. You got to do media. You got to talk to your boss. You got to talk to all the trainers. Make sure everything's done. Who can play, who can't play, making lineups. And I think with the staff we have, I use them and I rely on them a lot to help me through that. And I think it's a good mixture. So it's going well right now.
On the coaching side, does it make it easier this year with the amount of development staff that's there this year compared to last year?
Well, I think we had the development staff last year. For the numbers we had, we used them to our advantage. It's like, instead of bringing in another assistant, I wanted to use our development staff on the bench and on the ice a lot more. And now we've added a couple extra development people, and we're going to take full advantage of having them, see them on the bench again. Going into next year, I don't see any changes of why we would steer from that. Same staff, same development staff, and I'm going to use them even more.
Thanks, Derek.
Yep.